Today's lesson, we are going to be doing a language lesson, and we're going to be looking at something called prefixes. So I have a little ticket here that says prefix, and I have a little ticket here that is root. Okay, so a root of a word means something like the base of the word, like the word of play or grade. Typically, it is a word that can stand by itself and have its own meaning. So we are going to look at some of our root words here. So here I have the word throne, as in like the king's or queen's throne. This is an interesting word, the word flate. Flate. We typically use this word only when we have a prefix in front of it, and we're going to talk about what that means. Tour. You know, tour when you tour around a museum. Activate. Activate. And that means to start something or begin or to turn on. We have the word frost. What's frost? It's cold, ice. All right, then we have the word cook. You know, when you cook food. Caution. Write. View. Pay. And heat. Okay, so caution we know can mean be careful. Write is to physically write something. View is to look at. Pay is when you give one thing for something else. So if I went to the grocery store, I would pay for my groceries. They can't just give them to me. And heat, that's hot, you know, temperature. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at two different prefixes today. And the first prefix we're going to look at is the word, or prefix, sorry. And the first prefix we're going to look at is D. It's D-E. So if I do this, to dethrone somebody, that means to kick somebody off their throne. So say there was a king and his people and advisors weren't happy with him, they could dethrone him by throwing him off the throne, and then somebody would take his place. We have the word deflate. Deflate, like the tire has been deflated, or I'm going to deflate the tire, or deflate the air balloon, deflate the blow-up pool, which is always a very sad thing when the blow-up pool has to be deflated. That means to take air out of. Okay. Detour. Detour means, so have you ever been driving and there's construction and you can't go your usual way? Well, that's what a detour is. There's usually a sign to say detour, which means they're going to remove you from your original path and take you a different way, because you can't go the way you usually go because there's a big hole in the road or something like that. Deactivate. Deactivate means to turn off, to stop. Then you have the word defrost. Defrost. Have you ever heard one of your parents say, all right, we got to defrost the meat for dinner? That can mean that something is frozen and you need it to be not frozen. So defrost means you're going to, and you can't just cook a piece of frozen chicken because the outside would be all burned and cooked and weird, and then the inside would still be frozen and raw, and that'd be gross. So defrost is to take something that is frozen and to no longer have it be frozen. So now we're going to look at our second prefix. Sorry, that's my dog over there. He's sleeping. We're going to take a look at our second prefix, and that is the prefix of pre. Haha! Look, the prefix pre is in the word prefix. Isn't that interesting? We're going to talk more about that. So we can put this here and say precook. Precook something. That means to, say you were making a lasagna and you need to pre-cook the ground beef or pre-cook the noodles. So you would cook the noodles ahead of time so that you would have them to then put in the dish and finish cooking the dish later. Precaution. Okay, precaution means to be cautious before you do something. So a precaution that you do anytime you leave your house in your car is you put on your seatbelt. That's a precaution to keep you safe. Prewrite. So prewrite can be, when you're doing a research, and I've been talking a lot recently about the idea of a rough draft and what that means. Prewrite means something similar to that. You can prewrite what you want to say, so then you can look at it and edit it and change it and make it better later. A preview. Do you guys know what a preview is? It's like a preview for a movie where they have the trailer and you can kind of see what is going to happen in the movie and a little bit about the movie before it comes out. Well, you're viewing it before it comes out, so it's called a preview. Now, prepay. Prepay means you can pay for something ahead of time. So say I was going on a fancy vacation and I needed to take a flight somewhere. I would have to prepay for my ticket before that day that I was going to leave. So I can't just go to the airport and pay for my ticket at the airport. I have to prepay for it. I have to pay for it ahead of time. And then preheat. So preheat. Have you ever baked something like cookies or a cake and you have to preheat the oven? That means you have to get the oven to a certain temperature before you can start baking. So typically when we're baking cookies or a cake, you preheat the oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, so these are our 2 prefixes that we're going to look at today. And let's talk about what a prefix does. When we have the word pay here, that just means in general to give money or to give something for something else. Well, I could just pay for something in the moment, or if I prepaid it, then I am paying ahead of time. Or if I was cooking, I was just going ahead and cooking up some chicken and vegetables. I'd throw everything in the pot together and I would go ahead and cook it. But if I was making lasagna, I would need to pre-cook the meat beforehand, because you don't want to just put raw meat in your lasagna. You want cooked ground beef or whatever if you're making a meat lasagna. So you have to cook ahead of time. So it changed the meaning of this word cook. It changed the meaning of the word pay. It changed the meaning of view. You could view a movie to watch it, or you can preview the movie by watching a small trailer so that you could have an idea of what you're going to watch. When we come up to D, when we dethrone someone, that means we take away their throne. When we deflate something, that means we take away the air. When we detour, that means we take away our original plan. When we deactivate, we're taking away something that started. We're turning it off. We're taking away the energy, the power, the work. We defrost, we're taking away the frozen portion of the food. So as we can see here, the prefix of D means to remove something. And the prefix of pre means before. So when we look at the word prefix, prefixes come before a word. They prefix to the word. When you fix to something, you attach to it. And they're attaching to it before the word, in the beginning of the word. So prefix has a prefix in and of itself. Isn't that interesting? So what I want you to do is see if you can come up with other words that start with pre and D. Try to write them down. If you want, you can start making a word collection book for yourself at home, and you can list out any words that you find with the prefix of D or the prefix of pre. You can try to write a story using as many of these words as you possibly can. That can be kind of challenging sometimes. Also, if I listed any of these words, you don't remember what they mean, that's also a great opportunity for you to go ahead and look up their definitions and start learning some new words. So this is our word study lesson for the day. I hope you guys are doing well. I miss you, and don't hesitate to reach out with any questions. All right, thanks.